How are we doing, folks? Welcome back to a new episode of Rushcast. We've had a few weeks off. We had a few different things come up, and getting together became a bit of a challenge. But yeah, here we are, and we've got the last couple of shows to do. And today we are doing the final episode of the studio projects that are Rush or Rush adjacent. And yeah, here we are. This is the new project, newish project from Alex Lifeson, and we're going to be talking about Envy of None today. So, as ever, I'm joined by my co-host Paul. How are you, Paul?
I'm good, thanks, Joe.
Obviously, check out Paul's band as well, Audio Scope. You can check out their debut album, Secrets and Lies.
A classic album.
A classic.
And a classic album. Yes, I'm fine, Joe. Thanks. And like yourself, sort of been on and off busy, and how have things been with you? You've been quite busy yourself, haven't you? So.
With the channel, yeah, I did. I thought I had the bright idea of doing the Judas Priest series, where I did an album a day. That was quite tricky keeping up with it, but I did manage to.
Well, you've done that, and then you've carried on with Maiden Cast.
Maiden Cast came out as well. We had a couple of different releases come up, and we didn't do a video about it, but I went to see Napalm Death the other night, and Luke went to. I can't remember what it is. I think it's the Army's orchestra.
Okay.
Something to do with the armies. Yeah.
Okay.
Royal Air Force or Navy. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a concert at Royal Albert Hall, and Nico McBrain came out and did 3 Iron Maiden tracks with them. So Nico McBrain at the front with the drums, backed by an orchestra.
Fantastic.
It was pretty majestic. I've not done a video about it, but he's filmed it and shared a video of it, and that's pretty much gone viral. So check out Luke Maidencast co-host's YouTube channel, Luke's Silence, and or you can just look on Blabbermouth, because it's on Blabbermouth, and his video is the one that Blabbermouth have used. So, but yeah, we had the new album from Blaze Bayley and a new album from Bruce Dickinson, and it was like, yeah, we better get our socks on and get this covered. So we'll be back soon to do a more in-depth review like we do with us with the Bruce Dickinson album. Where it come out that day, it was just an initial reaction, really. But
it sounds really, really interesting. Actually, really interesting.
So, if this is your first episode, we have been doing all of the Rush albums. We did an album per episode, and we did the solo albums along the way as well. And yeah, now we're just going to be covering this new album featuring Alex Lifeson. And next week, or next episode, we'll be doing a special going through all of Rush's live albums, and then we'll conclude with a episode where we'll both be giving our top 5 Rush albums. But yeah, in the meantime, let's talk about Envy of None. It's certainly a different project. I think when it was announced that Alex Lifeson has a new project and is going to be releasing an album, I think everyone was slightly taken aback by how different it was from Rush, but he also made the point that don't go expecting a Rush album. This is a completely new project, and I think it was all fairly understood. And once the initial surprise wore off, I think people have generally been quite. It's been quite well received, isn't it?
Yeah. It seems to have been, definitely.
It seems like he was working on different pieces of music, not quite sure what, I suppose he was in the position of, I don't know what I'm doing, therefore I can do anything. I think he did release some instrumental pieces on his website, and then but then it was when the vocalist Maya, I think that is.
It's actually pronounced Maya.
Maya Wynn.
Maya Wynn.
Yeah. When she come on board, that's when everything came together, really. She's a singer and songwriter, and apparently, she was just the missing piece. It was this, what seemed to be floating around with no direction. She's come along and just tied it all together and made an album of it, by the sounds of it. I think she's a very talented vocalist and a very good songwriter as well. I think, yeah, it's an odd one. I think this is a very good album, but you've got to be in the mood for it. This this scratches a certain itch that I don't get very often.
Yeah.
But when I do, I think it's the only type of album that will do, if you know what I mean. It's a bit like a curry. You got to be in the mood for a curry, but when you are in the mood for one, nothing will suffice. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I think Joe is going to try and say it when he says curry, he doesn't mean a korma.
No,
he means something with a little bit more to it.
Yeah,
you
a bit
know,
more.
Which Joe was always at pains to point out. Oh, it's not a curry. A korma is not a curry. Yeah, this is quite a departure. I think, even compared to Alex's solo album, Victor, this is a departure from that, let alone
It's funny,
Rush.
you would think there would be like a nice piercing solo going through one of the songs where you
No,
he is. That's
no.
Alex. You know, some guitarists have a certain tone that you can identify them as, and
he's quite chameleonic on this album, and I think he sort of reverted back more to what he was doing in Rush in sort of the 80s with soundscapes and textural guitar work. And the thing that struck me about this, and this was like just catching up bits of interview, and this, they never actually worked together in the studio on this album. It was all sending files backwards and forwards to one another. So it was sort of done, it was really done in separation in every sense of the word. And when you listen to this album, and I don't know whether you have, Joe, but when you listen to this album through headphones, the depth of the production, there are so many incidentals, and it's not just a straight 24 track or whatever. You've got many tracks. I think they said the minimum amount of tracks on any of these songs is 60, and then it goes up to 140. And Maya would put loads of incidental vocals on this as well, and anything up to 60 vocal tracks. I know it might just be the odd bit.
There's whispers. There's just
exactly. So it's a very I think that sonically it's an extremely rich sounding album, and it's got that. I think it's been described as an ambient, cinematic, textural soundscape and industrial sounding album. There's a lot of darkness to it as well. It's quite moody, but I think her voice absolutely suits the music here. I think on all of these songs. I think that the background is it's Andy Curran has known Alex for a long time. He used to work at Anthem record label, so he was always in the background with Rush. And he started, and then he was asked to mentor Maya Wynn, and then they started to write. He was asked to mentor her, but I think that was after they were already sending files backwards and forwards between Alex and Ian. And then they got Alf Alabina, is that his full name? Annie Bellini, sorry, beg your pardon, who is more of a producer, but he does play guitar and keyboards and does a lot of programming on this as well, as Andy Curran does as well. And Andy Curran is of Coney Hatch, former band. But I don't know whether you think this, and as you've already said, that really the linchpin in all of this is Maya Wynn. That sort of pulled it all together. And then it went through a process of change, because Alec Lifeson said that really for this album and for this project, he calls it a project. He said that he would hold back what he wanted to put on guitar because he wanted to hear Maya's contribution and her voice and what she's done with it. And by his own admission, Maya became his muse on this album, very much so. And so there was a lot of toing and froing. And as Maya pointed out I think it was one of the very few times they've all actually been together in a room. She said that this album has taken about 5 years to produce and to complete because it's just been so much backwards and forwards, and obviously with travel restrictions and all this sort of stuff that's been going on. And I think the influences are quite interesting. I can hear in this the band Garbage.
Yes, yeah,
and Shirley Manson. I mean, Maya's voice has a more. She almost whispers the vocals in this. There's a sort of a melancholic sensuality to her voice throughout this entire album.
Yeah.
And she is a solo artist in her own right. I think she tends to be more folky, more of a folky. But you can hear things like 9 Inch Nails, Massive Attack. You've got that electronic sound to it.
Obviously with industrial music, you know, it started out with sort of experimental, you know, things like throbbing gristle and all the rest of it, and then it kind of got siphoned into something more accessible. I wouldn't say commercial, but with your Gary Newmans and you know, and then obviously your American bands like Ministry, and then obviously the big one, 9 Inch Nails, Depeche, and then sort of electronic acts like Depeche Mode,
yes, of course,
picked it up and integrated it into their sound later on. But there's definitely that industrial tinge to the songs, so like just a little finishing touch rather than a full-on industrial. I mean, a lot of that. Yeah, you know, most real industrial music is unlistenable to most people.
Well, yeah, I would say
definitely got that 90s, and Garbage is is definitely
and I mean, I don't know about you, but I quite like the Garbage stuff. I think there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are more. I'm not a big fan of Garbage. I'm not a particular fan of Shirley Manson either. There's something about it that gets on my nerves. She likes to beat her chest in interviews quite a lot. I think Garbage are more the thing that they, for me anyway, with Garbage is the production more than the songs themselves. I mean, Butch Vig obviously didn't he produce Nevermind. He'll eat out forever on that one, won't he?
Well, yes, of course.
So I definitely hear like Garbage is a good comparison, but I wouldn't compare Maya to
No, I think with regards to the style,
it's definitely got that 90s. All the way through this, listening to it, I think film soundtrack. Kept thinking film soundtrack, 90s. It had like just that, and it was the Garbage were like the main one, I suppose. But there was loads of projects. There was a Snake River Conspiracy. I'm trying to think of a few others, but I mean, you could go, no doubt, if you want to go to the
yes, you could,
stuff, they started out as a ska punk band, but obviously with Don't Speak become a big hit, and then they started experimenting with different producers, and the sound went here, there, and everywhere, and anywhere in between. But Guano Apes, but 90s alternative bands, lady singer with big cargo pants, tank top, hair done up. That there was that, that template in the 90s. And if this album was released in 1996, I think it would be considered a classic by many, but I think a lot of people just haven't heard it, because I've recommended this album to so many people, going like, this is right up your street, and they're just, probably because I listen to is heavy metal normally, and they just go, oh, right, and they don't bother. But it's got that 90s. It's just that 90s feel to it. It's got that slightly industrial, slightly rock, slightly, a little bit of everything molded up with a bit of trip hop. That was what they used to call it, wasn't it? With sort of Massive Attack was the big one, and it was, you know, oh, what was that band called? Sugar something, Sneaker Pimps.
Oh
That was
yes,
the
yeah.
same sort of thing, actually.
Mm,
The singer in that reminds me a little bit. And
yeah.
but yeah, I just keep thinking everything from the. Do you remember the Romeo and Juliet where Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes, and it was like a modern interpretation of Romeo and Juliet. The whole aesthetic and style of that was just 90s, wasn't it? You look at that,
Yeah.
90s, and that soundtrack as well was very much like this. That if this came out then, this would
Mm,
be in the Romeo
yeah.
and Juliet set. It would be in the Matrix soundtrack. It's, you know,
Yes,
a
very
lot of,
true. Yeah.
you think like a scene that's opening in a nightclub, maybe a
Hmm.
strip club, like Bad Boys. Remember Bad Boys with Will Smith? There's that club where they walk in and there's dancers on the podium. It's not a strip club, but there are dancers. And there's
Yeah.
flashing lights everywhere, and the opening of Blade, just all those action films that would have that nightclub. There'd be like
Yeah.
basically like they're walking into an aquarium, and then the guns come out, and I just see that sort of aesthetic with it all.
Yeah. It's almost as if this album is slightly out of time,
But even yeah, it's
but
out of
it's
time. But it reminds me, but
but it's
time is frozen since the
yeah.
2000s anyway.
Well, yeah, that's
And
what
I
I'm
can tell
saying.
you a little
It's
experiment, everyone. You can go back and watch anything, like watch an old soap episode or an old sitcom, and look at the clothes, look at the wallpaper, and you'll go, that's the 70s, that's the 80s, that's the 90s. You look at Dave now, say like an old episode, Dave comes on, you know, the channel Dave, and you're in if you say you're in I don't know, a dentist reception or something, you will not be able to tell if, say, like an old game show comes on, you will not be able to tell what year it's from. From 2006 to 2016, you will not be able to tell whether that, in that 10-year difference, everything stopped in terms of fashion, in terms of styles. Nothing's changed since the 2000s. That's something I've noticed. But so this is quite a refreshing listen
oh
because it
yeah,
reminds me of the 90s. Because the 90s,
yeah.
it's like, yeah, the 90s came and gone. I mean, oh, there's no way of identifying the 90s. Like, no, you can now.
Mm.
And
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't
not
disagree
only
with that.
that, where I kept thinking this reminds me of the 90s, just reminds me of the 90s. But then when I look at the videos that have been made for Never Said I Love You, and what was the other one? Little something, little look inside.
Look Inside was the other.
That
Yeah,
that both those videos suit the sound. Like they look and sounds perfect. They suit the sound of the songs, and it looks like a 90s film. It does to me anyway.
well, yeah, yeah, it does.
Maybe I'm getting old now. I don't know,
But
but
well, I mean, obviously, we'll get on to these. I suppose the only other one, and there is a little bit of a liking to it, is yeah, she doesn't sound like Shirley Manson. She is Maya Wynn. She sounds
yeah,
like she is. But there's also been comparisons with Amy Lee of Evanescence as
yeah,
well.
yeah. I think musically more closer to Garbage, but vocally probably closer to
Yeah,
Amy from
yeah,
Evanescence. Yeah,
probably.
and
So
Evanescence that again, it topped off the 90s and sort of set the precedent for the 2000s.
yeah,
Really, that came out. When did
yeah,
that
it did.
album? I remember when that album was coming out. Because you had bands that were doing the sort of metal, but with a symphonic tinge to it. So you had bands like Within Temptation, Lacuna Coil, to a more extent, Nightwish, and then Evanescence just came
Yeah,
straight through the middle and
they just
swept the
bludgeoned their
carpet
way.
from out all
Yeah,
their feet. Yeah,
they just bludgeoned their way through. They just
yeah.
completely smashed through.
But,
Yeah, it yeah, it's so like yourself. It's been interesting to listen to this, but yeah, I think you have to be sort of in the mood, I think, for it. But having said that, some fantastic production work on this. And I know that Alex in the interview was saying with this one, he was experimenting more with the guitar sounds. He was having guitar tracks flipped around so that they're being played backwards, but they would always hit the markers of accents and stuff like that as well. And also going through changing it to make the guitar not sound like a guitar. And it really playing around with a lot of effects and that, just to give these various textures.
It seems like this has been Alex Lifeson, the studio.
Yeah.
You know, he's having fun in the studio rather than Alex.
Well, I
Lifeson,
think they all
the guitarist.
were. Yeah, I think they all were
a
on
studio
this
project.
And I mean, they also, it wasn't just them four. They've also had some. They've not got drums on every track, but they like live drums.
Yeah.
But they have got drums on a number of them. I mean, you've got Dave Quinton Steinberg, who plays drums on quite a few of these songs. Tim Oxford plays the drums on one track, which is the opening track, Never Said I Love You. And Joe Vitale plays the drums on Dog's Life. But the rest of them with the live drums is David Steinberg, and he drums on Enemy, Spy House, Western Sunset, Liar, and Look Inside. With regards to getting the drums recorded, that was down to Alf Annabellini. He was the only one who actually ended up working in a studio, obviously, with the drummers before sending these files off, from what I've gleaned from the interview. There are also some cellos on this by Bethany Joyce. She plays cellos on one track, Shadow, and Jonathan Dinklage does the strings on the final song, Western Sunset. But of course, we'll get to them.
We'll get to that one. Yeah,
we'll get to that. But that's just an interest. But it's these four, obviously: Alf Annabellini, Andy Cohen, Alec Lifeson, and of course Maya Wing. So let's go for it.
We should get into the songs.
Yeah, I think we should.
Right. Well, kicking off then with Never Said I Love You. This is probably the most. This is definitely the first single, isn't it? I mean, this is the one that it leads. Comes out.
I don't think they released this as a single.
They did a video for it.
I did the video for it, but I don't know if it was. I can't find anywhere.
I don't know how it all works now. Yeah,
no, but it might have been.
To me, a single is a thin CD with a B side. I bought in Woolworths. If it's not there, it's not a single. But some people go, no, it's a single.
I mean, it should have been. If it wasn't a single,
it should be a lead track, definitely. I mean, this is instantly recognisable. It's got a good beat to it. It's got obviously Maya's vocals and the songwriting, the hook of it all, the way the song kicks off, and then it kicks into that great chorus with the driving guitar. Plus with the layered vocals, it's just infectious. It's just really.
Yeah, it
hits you the first time you hear it. That's the first, stick that one back on. It's an earworm. It's a great song, basically. This is a really good song.
Is. Yeah, and I certainly can't add anything to that. I think it's
conking and melodic.
And it's a good opener. What a great way to open the album. So it's in the right place, and absolutely terrific.
It's quite interesting lyrically as well. What did you think it was about lyrically? It seems to me. To me like someone who meets the bastard to their bitch, basically. It seems
I think so. And then obviously with the title of the song, I never said I loved you. I love you.
But the way it's going in the verse, I don't know if I'm getting it right, but it's sort of someone's quite guarded and approaches a relationship like it's on their terms, what I say goes, and then it's kind of reverted back onto them. I remember seeing a play once where it's the same sort of thing. It was just, the woman is a bit of a girl boss. I called her shots. I called her. I want it, and then she actually gets infatuated with a guy, but the guy's like, well, no, this is what you said was the terms, and someone said quite perfectly, he's the bastard to her bitch. Basically, she gets a bit of a taste of her own medicine.
Well, basically,
that's how it kind of comes across, because it kind of goes along that thing, but then it comes back with, well, I never said I loved you, and then it goes back the other way. It's quite interesting.
There is that to and fro, and I mean, just the second verse, it told me to walk away, that you need a break, to fight for better days after all the times you said you'd stay. Yeah, it just, how could I do you wrong? You let me take the fall. Yeah, I'm just picking out odd lines here. Yeah,
It's
difficult to
perfectly
understand.
vague, isn't it? And all
Yeah,
the great,
it is, but you can read
great,
between the
yeah,
lines on
exactly.
this.
But great, that's great
And
lyrics
that's,
always are, aren't they?
I think lyrically, the album, I don't think she did a bad job on this. I think lyrically, it's there's enough gaps in there for you to draw your own conclusions. They draw you in, you know, and
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
that, I mean, that's really very cleverly done. So, yeah, great way to open the album. And as I've looked everywhere, and it said it doesn't list this as a single from the album. It
That's
doesn't,
maybe it wasn't
which
a single then, but there
which
is a.
is strange. And I believe, again, I'm trying to think,
It's
and
quite a good look. It's a good looking video as well. It's a woman in a hotel,
yeah,
and she kind of does this like choreographed dance bob, like
yeah,
smashing up the hotel, but in a dancey kind of way.
yeah, yeah. It's, I think this is one of Maya's favourite ones as well. I think from what I can remember of the interview, she really liked this song in particular. So there you go. So yeah, great opener, and it sort of sets the tone really for the rest of the album that follows.
Yeah. So let's go on to Shadow. You
Mm-hmm.
mentioned Nine Inch Nails earlier. I think
Yeah,
another band that this reminds me of is a band Filter, and the songwriter of Filter was in Nine Inch Nails. I think he played guitar on the first album, was in the original lineup of the band,
yeah,
who famously presented a song to Trent Reznor called "Hey Man, Nice Shot." Trent didn't want it. He released it under the name Filter. Got picked up for film soundtracks, become a massive hit in the 90s. You probably don't know it, but I'll guarantee if I play you it, you'll go,
yeah.
"Oh, I know this."
Yeah,
And
I probably would, but was it
Richard
Filter?
Christie
Yeah,
as well is
doesn't.
the brother. No, not Richard Christie. That's the drummer of Richard Patrick. Is his brother is Robert Patrick, who played the evil Terminator in Terminator 2. There's a little.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But, but yeah, he said that I was quite happy that song got turned down because I put it out and it paid for my house, as he said. But
Well, there you
Filter
go.
are sort of the opposite of Nine Inch Nails because they're the big production, big sort of electronic and soundscapey, but a bit more brighter than
Yeah,
Nine Inch Nails. But take a song like Take My Picture is a good one to look up, and this reminds me a little bit of that
okay.
second Filter album.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is another one, real haunting melody going through it. A lot of these songs remind me of dance tracks as well, because there's not a lot with the verses. It's sort of quite a repetitive chorus, but that chorus is so strong that it carries the song anyway.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it does.
yeah, this reminds me of, like you used to get a lot of chill out compilations and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, it has got that quality to it, and I say I like the cellos on this
Mm,
particular song. They just set up that mood of the melancholy. I mean, the whole thing is about a shadow from the past and somebody not being able to escape someone from their past. So it's a very, and something that always colours a person anyway. I think it's a really interesting. I mean, just was it your darkness follows me, do what I do, go where I go. I can't leave when you're my shadow. Your darkness follows me.
yeah.
It feels like I'm going insane. I can't live with the pain. I think it
Yeah.
again, I think the lyrics just fit the music so well
Mm,
on this, and I just think that's why I like the cellos on it. They've got that very, so they're soulful, but there's also that melancholic quality to how they're being played here that just absolutely hits the button all the way.
yeah.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
think more.
let's
Yeah.
move on to then Look Inside. This one picks up the
Ah.
pace a bit more.
Yeah.
It's still quite dreamy in
Hmm.
scope, but it's got quite an interesting little bass line at the beginning of it. I don't know if it's bass or guitar,
I
but
think
it has
it's
that.
guitar. I think it's guitar. I think
Yeah,
it's guitar. It's a low sounding guitar, I think is what Alex said on this, because I think the bass is just accenting um, with the drums on this.
yeah,
That is, this is one of the experiments, I think, on the guitar. I know there is some synthesized bass, which Andy Curran does as well. So it's all blended in. So it could be a low sounding guitar and perhaps synthesized bass, or certainly an affected bass as well. This was one that Alex was talking about, that he really was experimenting a lot with the guitar textures on this particular one.
yeah,
I I think this one is really atmospheric, and it is actually one of my favourites on the album.
yeah, yeah.
And
I think this one as well could be slightly reinterpreted, and it would be a really good live track as well. Because as far as I'm
yeah,
aware, the band haven't done any gigs. They certainly
no,
haven't toured.
no,
I did read a recent interview with one of the members where he's saying he's hoping, it is a project, but he's hoping it will eventually become a band, and he'd
well,
like to be
that's what
in a
Andy.
room.
It was
Yeah,
Andy Curran
yeah,
who was talking about that. Yes, he would. I don't. Alex has already said that he really doesn't want to play and do tours anymore. And in the interview with Envy of None, he said, I wouldn't mind guesting from time to time. But he said what would be good is if a younger band was behind Maya to do this. But
depends if
then
there's enough traction. It's got to
yeah,
be.
but I think with
Yeah,
this, it
hopefully
is,
the songs will stand on their own and get an audience of their own, and it's not just
yeah,
Rush fans
no.
checking out Alex's
Well,
new.
that's the thing. But
But
from
it has
how
to take a
Alex,
life of its own
yeah,
going
it
forward.
does.
Yeah,
I think, and as Alex said, basically, he was sort of writing himself out of it. He said, I view this as a project. It is a band, but it's a project. And he said, he goes, I've just played live. He said, someone else to take a turn and do it. But Maya said, I would love Alex to come up and play a couple of the songs.
of course she would.
So,
Yeah.
definitely. So, and of course, this was the other single.
Mm.
It wasn't the first single. The
This was
first
the
single
one that
was,
the video as well. Very
yeah,
good looking video. Very
yeah,
well filmed.
it was the first single, which is the track after this, Liar. These are the two singles, as far as I'm aware, that were released off from the album. And this is the second one. But I love the feel of this and the depth of it. And as you said, you can read certain things into the lyrics with all of this, but it's a very insular song, i.e., by the title, you've got to look inside. Yeah, I like it. I like this, and again, it's just those soundscapes, and again, when you listen to this one through the headphones, you can hear things coming in and going out.
Yeah,
Which just sort of punctuates little bits and pieces. I like it. It's one of my favourites, definitely.
yeah. All right, let's move on then to Liar. This is another highlight. I think so. You've got that we start off with a nice drive-in song. Quite, I wouldn't say it was upbeat, but it's up tempo. Then we got like a soft, sort of dreamy song. Then another sort of dreamy song that's a bit darker, and then it kicks into Liar, which has got this real dirty, sexy riff that kicks in with a real distorted guitar during the chorus, and it's got a real dark. Yeah, it has a dirty feel to it, really. This song, and it's a dark, sexy song. It's
it is.
And it brings to mind, the industrial, the again garbage. This would easily be again,
Yeah,
and
I think so.
that whole 90s aesthetic, there was a big thing in the 90s as well where there'd be a thing set in a club and there'd be a band playing and it cut to the scene, then back to the band. The Crow did it. The Crow probably perfected it, but it became, the bands wanted to be that band playing in the background because it obviously just gave them, loads of traction. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, I could imagine this scene being used in a scene like that with the band playing would have been really cool.
Yeah, definitely. It's again, what did you think of the lyrics on this one? Or was it again just you just listen to it as
It's
a
about a
whole?
liar.
Well, yeah,
But yeah,
basically, yeah. It
everything you said was just a lie, and then just up and it keeps that. Reminds me a
it's
little bit of Depeche Mode, actually, in Depeche Mode's 90s output, especially
Hmm.
when it's always funny when bands get called like a sellout. You went commercial, you went melodic, or you went big. And Depeche Mode got called sellouts when they started using guitars. You've gone rock. You're not
Yeah,
electronic. Yeah, but yeah, around in the 90s when Dave Garner grew his hair long and started thinking he was
yeah.
a real rock star. Well, he's a real rock star
He
now,
is,
but he adopted the rock star rather than the electronic pop guy. And Martin
but
Gore just adopted the guitar. He's always at the front now with the guitar rather than behind the keyboard. But sort of around, say, Ultra. Have I got it up here? Yeah, that's hope that ain't it. That's it.
I was going to say, can you reach it?
Sometimes you just
Yeah,
know that came out in '97, didn't you? From that album cover,
yeah.
and that's what this song reminds me of.
But I mean, just lightly touching on Depeche Mode, if Depeche Mode had just stayed electronic, they wouldn't have survived.
No.
They wouldn't have had the shelf life that they have.
No.
So I think they were clever enough to know that they had to evolve, they had to change, and
they in one way in England they always struggled and were always sort of written off, but in America really took to them. So it's funny because all the bands that were at the top of the game here and Depeche Mode were at the bottom, but they couldn't translate in America.
They couldn't crack America. Did. Yeah, exactly.
And ultimately, sort of opposite effects. Yeah,
and ultimately, I mean, it's a much bigger market.
Yeah,
in America, and
I did start a retrospective series with Vaughan George, whose channel's much bigger than mine, and I'd like to carry on the series, but tracking him down is pinning him down's quite tricky. So that's on the shelf, and hopefully will be picked up again one day. But yeah, I had a really good conversation with him. We covered the first 6 or so albums. Yeah.
Cool.
Which we talk about. So, but yeah,
cool stuff.
Liar. Let's get with.
I do. It's got that really good groove to it. It's sort of quite insistent, but there are some good lines on this one. You let your darkness show, and now I know that everything you said was just a lie. And obviously, you're a liar. You say that, and this was I thought was a good line, a couple of lines. You say that you can see the light, but you speak with your eyes closed. My heart can see through the lies, my instinct will always know. I just, that line, you speak with your eyes closed, that just sort of, I don't know, that just sort of stuck with me on that. It was, because obviously when people do lie, they do tend to look down or look away, and it's good number, and I can see why it was released as a single. So
where are we now? Spy House.
Spy House, and this is the first song that Alex brought to the table. He actually, although everything was written by all of them, he came up with the initial idea of this one. So this is Alec Lifeson led Spy House. What have you got? What are your? I mean, it opens up with the guitar anyway, and then you get this nice solid beat that comes in on it.
To be honest with you, after the first 4 songs, the album does lose me slightly because it kind of takes off and then just cruises. We go in a lot of different directions in the first 4 songs, but then the album just kind of plateaus going forward.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I like Maya's performance on this one. I mean, her performance on the whole album is good.
Yeah,
I like she sort of the way she whispers the vocals on this one just seems to really set it up really nicely. Sort of everything in hushed tones, which you would be with regards to espionage and whatever, and saying that was it you're creeping through the hallway, then you smile to my face. Maybe I'm just paranoid. You know, it just. But this is the one that's got a guitar solo on it. But again, it's all. But no sooner does it start, it just seems to.
It's over as
it trails off, doesn't it?
I mean, it's not a particularly long song either.
No,
is it?
it's not. It's not a long song at all. But it's sort of quite a. You can tell it's Alec Lifeson playing it.
I mean, there's only one song that goes over the 5-minute mark.
Yeah,
on this, so
it's sort of reminiscent of how Rush were in the early days. The songs didn't hang around long enough to get bored with them, and this is sort of reminiscent of that. But I don't know whether you felt this, but when I listened to the solo on that, I think it could go on a bit longer.
Yeah.
You know, that was sort of I found myself wanting to hear more on this particular one. But yeah, this was one that was Lifeson led, and then it was backwards and forwards through their process, and he gradually changed bits and pieces. But nice sounding solo while it was there, very bluesy. But it was sort of over before it really sort of got going, really.
All right, well, things pick up a bit on the next track, Dog's Life.
Yeah, Dog's Life. Yeah,
this kicks in a bit in the middle, and you got some decent drums on this one.
Yeah,
I think they're live drums at least.
Dog's Life is. So I'm just referring to that. The drums on. Yeah, Dog's Life is the one with Joe Vitale. He plays the drums on this.
Yeah.
It has got a certain swagger to it.
Yeah, this one's slightly heavy.
It's heavy, especially with them clashing chords, where it's really it sort of lifts up into like the bridge. Or I don't know if they're choruses or bridge section, but it's the lines. I do it for the love, and she holds on to that love.
This would be another one I think with slightly tweaked. It'd be really good driver live.
I reckon this would be a good one live.
Yeah,
definitely. I don't know.
This is what worries me about this album. Actually, I was like, they've not done any gigs, and that's the thing as well. It's like, I think this would be a bit of a long night. Actually, because it kind of picks up, and then it sort of goes back all floaty again, and I don't know how many of these songs would really work live. But again, if they're slightly tweaked and reimagined, I think probably if they're scaled down, where it is just right, you can't.
Yeah,
guitar, bass, drums, a keyboard player by all means, but you've got to play these now. Then it does sort of,
however they would do it live, it's going to sound raw.
Yeah,
compared to this it
gets rid of a lot of the bollocks, doesn't it? When you have to
it gets rid of a lot of the periphery.
Yeah,
and that in the album. And they would have to, and like you've said, you've already used the word, they've got to be reimagined for a live presentation.
That was another thing Nine Inch Nails do, though. Trent Reznor has said that. He says like the album is in the studio. He's like basically it's me in the studio. He does a little bit of everything. He's a producer as well. I think he pretty much plays everything except the drums, and I think he has like his co-producer there overseeing it all. But and he's like, I don't even think about the live show. The album is the album. Yeah. Then, when the album's done, get the live band involved. Then we go, right, how the hell do we do this? But that's the second chance. So he says that the songs are very much studio live, and they are different.
Yeah.
And I think
That would happen
probably,
here.
I think that's what's going to happen here.
That would happen here. I think the only way they would do that, as you say, you either get a really good tight band behind them and they reimagine it and make it raw and a bit more presentable in like a sort of rock genre, or they will go the other way with it, in that you would get it a little bit more laid back and perhaps some orchestral, some strings, a quartet or something with it as well, to try and give it that.
Then again, we are in the age now where a band cancels their appearance at a festival because one of the members' laptop wasn't working. So,
well, yeah,
sky's the limit nowadays.
Yeah, but this has happened before. I mean, you're talking about laptops. I mean, one band who does use all of that and they've done all right for themselves is Muse. Muse would use an awful lot of these when they tour, yet they are still very much a live act. So it can be done, but as you said, you're at the mercy of technology working or failing. And then that's the problem with it. But going back to this song. I like this song. It's I think possibly, especially with those clashing chords on that particular section, I would say arguably this is the heaviest one on the album. It feels, to me, it feels like a bit of a high point to me. Again, one of my favorites. I quite like this.
So Dog's Life kind of kicks things back in, but then we rest again on Cabal Blues. It's another floaty, dreamy song, isn't it?
And this is another one that Lifeson brought to the table. And
this is obviously what he's where he's at the moment.
And some nice guitar on this though. Really nice. Again, that sort of bluesy guitar line reminds me, quite reminiscent to me of some of David Gilmour's work again. Just how he plays and little backdrops and stuff like that. Oh, well, that would backtrack into the material, exactly. Just backtracking very slightly to Dog's Life. In the background at the end of there's a lot of squealing guitar and everything, but it's so low in the mix. And Alec Lifeson is really soloing quite hard there. I forgot to mention that. But going back to this one, there's a lot of space on this one, isn't there? Really, it's just total atmospherics, and then her voice just comes in and it just totally dominates, really. But again, it paints a nice. Picture.
Her vocals are the main thing of this, and sometimes it feels like it is just sort of supporting the vocals. It's
I think it is. I've put down a comment. I think all the music is a vehicle for her voice to sit on and in, really, and she's very much the linchpin of it all, really. It all comes together.
What do you think of Cabal Blues? I've not really got much to say about
it. I think I think there's some nice guitar on it.
It ticks along nicely.
It ticks along nicely, and I don't know. Would you say it's an album filler? Would you say it's
I wouldn't say it's an album filler, but it is a more like a chapter in a book. It's just a nice little interlude. What you've had that now. But before we get there, we're just gonna push you along. So I sort of think it's a cog in the machine rather than a.
I don't think it's an album filler. I don't think that. But it's probably one of my lesser favorites. On it, I guess.
It's not one you're going to skip to.
No. But having said that,
necessarily have to skip it either.
No, exactly. But say for me, obviously, again, her voice. But I do like the guitar that Alex puts on this one. It's very nice and it highlights him. So, that's all.
I think the much more interesting song is Old Strings, the next one. Main vocal melody of that, just that harmonizing that Mia does. That is basically the main hook of the song. And she's fantastic. She's
Yeah, this
If
is the
anything,
one. This is one she brought. This is one. This is one she wrote.
yeah,
And she led on this one. Yeah, so I think it's a lovely song. It's the
yeah.
ballad. To me, it's the ballad of
It's the
the
ballad,
album.
and all it is. It's yeah. They've just finished it off. This has just been tweaked in the
Mm,
studio.
yeah,
And if anything, I don't
yeah.
know. I'd like to hear the demo of this song because I wonder if it is just her voice. Is it? It's just harmonising and
It's,
a cappella. I don't know, but
it's really. I like the way it just starts off very low and just almost like sort of percussive, and then it
yeah,
just all gradually builds, and then she's got all those multi-track harmonies and that sort of just brings it in, and then the main vocal is just beautiful. It just sounds great. Some lovely guitar soundscaping on this. It's
but
sort
it's
of,
just little licks, isn't it?
yeah,
It's just
but
little.
it just adds to the expression of her voice. It just sounds really, really lovely. So again, to me, another highlight of the album, very much so.
Yeah,
And again, I think with this one, her voice, very, very, very sensuous. I think on this particular song, there's a lot of depth and emotion in what she's saying what she's singing in this. Yeah, really lovely, really lovely. Yeah, it's not really. I just think it's a very, very nice song. And again,
yeah, no, angelic.
yeah,
Just say it. Yeah.
that's it. It's got that slight melancholy again, but it just works, just sits there
So
beautifully.
the next song then, Dumb. I think this is the follow-up really of Never Said I Love You. I think this fits quite nicely along
Mm,
with it. Probably a good job that they put it opposite ends of the album, really. We're coming to the end now.
yeah.
Um, it's got that catchy that dance beat to it, and a good vocal melody, but with these nice, what's the word?
Well, you've got
David
these.
Gilmore-y, silky guitar lines going through
Yes,
it.
you have got that as well, and
Silky, that's a nice.
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
silky. I think that's a very good description. But I do. I think this song does sort of bounce along quite nicely.
Did this become a single as well? Because when I first looked up the album
Not that I'm
on
aware of.
YouTube,
Not that
that's
I'm
this is the
aware of.
first song that comes up.
Hmm. Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, they only ever released Liar and Look Inside as singles
Yeah. With
off
a
the
bit.
album. We're obviously going to get on to having a quick chat on about the EP. There's a remixed version of this
That's right. Yes.
on the EP, along with Dog's Life.
Yeah.
Um, and then, well, as I say, we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, Dumb. The video. Did you see the video of this song, Dumb? It's sort of almost like again, it's quite retrospective, but you see lots of people riding push bikes,
Right.
and they've got
I saw
the
Look Inside and Never Said I Love You.
and
But there
but they
was
haven't
another one that
got,
was a lyric video. But yeah.
yeah, but they haven't got human faces. They've got sort of more ape-like,
Yeah.
basically saying, "I'm dumb. You think I'm dumb?
Mm.
Make me feel dumb." And you've got these, and it's obviously prosthetics, and it was just and they're just trying to, they're just riding along a road, really. It could be somewhere in suburbia, somewhere. Yeah, there's something quite downbeat about this one, even though it's quite an upbeat song. Again, it is sort of basically somebody pushing somebody else down and making them feel inferior. You know, that's sort of what I've gleaned from the song anyway. And again, there's a lot of, I quite like the little repeats that she does, like, so I don't want to be, want to be, want to be. It just sort of sits quite nicely in. It sort of plays on and off the rhythm quite a lot. Again, I thought that was quite cleverly done. Was it 1 + 1 = 3, but you never gave back to me All you ever did was make me feel dumb. It says it all, really, doesn't it? So, but I like the soundscape on this one. It's quite clever. And I think on this one that you've got like keyboard sounding melodies, but I think a lot of it's done on guitars.
Mm. Oh,
I think
okay.
a lot of it's done on guitars. I could be completely wrong. It could be a mixture, but it's yeah. I've got nothing more on that one. I'd say I just
Okay, then let's go into Enemy. This is another one that kind of it's a slow brooding. Yeah, this has got definitely an industrial tinge to it. Certainly an industrial sort of structure. The way it kicks in with it again, a nice sort of pervy, dirty sounding riff kicks in. It's more of it's a dirty tone to it, and
it's quite a deep.
I'm not your enemy, and she sort of, the voice. It's the vocals are really delicate and really things. It's almost like she's whispering the vocals, but they're put up really high in the mix. She's really cleverly done, and another one that's could potentially be quite heavy if
I could
done live.
I mean, you could really go to town on this one. Really go to town live on this one.
They could stretch the songs out as well and add sections to it and really kick in.
With this, her vocal performance on this, as you say, she does whisper this, but then when it goes up a notch, she's actually pushing her voice a bit. Let's raise the flag. I don't want to fight. A second chance. I don't want to fight. Let's raise the flag. There will be no blood. I'm not your enemy. And in the interview, she said this was sort of a reaction to what was going on. I think she lives Montana. I think it's Montana. She said that over the years, obviously, there's been all sorts of uprisings and protests and stuff like that, and people turning on each other. She's saying, look, don't turn on me. I'm not your enemy. And that's what she's sort of conveying across here in the lyrics of this. And that's sort of the background of it. With regards to the songs, I'm just looking at some of the, put down the weapon, don't shoot our son, as in S-U-N, and learn your lesson, thy kingdom come, down, down. I mean, even just that opening line, I've been lost in this twisted world. Well, haven't we all? Drowned in silence and I'm feeling ill. And every time that you try to run, hold my hand, I'll put a flower in your gun. I mean, just totally going against the feelings of many people and people's disposition at that time. So, do you know what it reminds me of, though? When I heard this one, I immediately thought of Radiohead. Right. A particular song on their OK Computer album, which is really quite dark, called Climbing Up the Walls.
Oh, yeah.
It gave me that sort of vibe with this. And so I sort of found myself drawing a sort of a comparison, but a sort of a parallel with that. So I think that immediately pricked my ears up with regards to that. I think this is a very, very strong song. And like you've just said, I reckon this would sound really mean live. Really mean live. So yeah, absolutely. I like it. I like the song. I thought it was
right. Well, we've come to the end of the album, and this is the final track.
Western Sunset.
Western Sunset, which is just a 2.5 minute instrumental track. What happened there? Which is basically just a nice dreamy guitar, acoustic guitar with some nice, sort of dreamy background synths.
Well, there is, and there is also some strings on this as well.
Yeah, some strings as well. And it's Alex said that this was dedicated to Neil Peart.
Mm.
And when he went to see him when he was ill, they sat on Neil's balcony and there was a sunset, and it's his memory really, watching a sunset with Neil, and that's captures that moment really, which is, it is a nice way to close the album. It's a nice piece, music, and a fitting tribute really.
Absolutely. I know that they looked at this and thought whether Maya would put some like oohs and ahs on this, no actual lyrics.
Yeah.
But in the end, I think she said musically it just said everything it needed to, so she just stayed off of it altogether and left it as a pure instrumental. Yes, and everything you've said, that's what I read up about it, and he did speak about it, Alex. He said it was one of those very special, poignant moments sitting on his balcony, because Santa Monica, I think Neil lived, and he said it was just a lovely, beautiful sunset, just the way it went down, and just, I think it was the last time he saw him. I think it was the last time he saw him. So it is very, very, very touching and quite emotive, but a lovely way to finish the album. In that respect, it is very different to the rest of the album, and finishes the album off on a very reflective note, doesn't it? So
I'm slightly running out of time, so I just want to quickly touch on. So after that, the band released an EP called "That Was Then, This Is Now," which was 2 songs that weren't on the album, and then 3 remixes. Let's quickly go over those last 2 songs, then we'll do a quick summary before closing.
Yeah, of course.
You've got Leaf River.
Yeah, I think they pronounce it Lethe
River.
The only notes I've got on that when I listened to it, this was one of the ones that was originally going to be on the album.
Yeah.
I like the guitar picking on this, and it reminds me so much of his guitar picking on Everyday Glory from the album Counterparts. That was the thing that leapt out at me with regards to that particular song. I mean, again, it's a nice song. It goes along fine, nicely, but I can see probably why it wasn't put on the album. So have you got any comments?
Not really. I think it's got a nice it's certainly got radio potential. It's got some soft guitars, and
it's quite quaffable.
Yeah,
quite a quaffable song.
Nice. I mean, maybe it should have been used for the second album, maybe, but they've put this EP out.
They put the EP out.
But no, it's not bad. And then You'll Be Sorry. Again, it's not a bad track, but it's not one I could.
Yeah. The thing I like about this one, though, is the interesting colour on the guitars. You got that quite a heavy riff, and then that nice sort of quite pretty pick line that he puts on this as well, which for me sort of makes the song. But yeah, I mean, it does what it says. It's a nice song, and it goes along, and
I mean, these songs would have fit on the album perfectly fine.
Oh yeah,
It didn't. Does it really need to? In the way it's sequenced, I think it does what it needs to do.
I mean, I don't know whether these appeared on the deluxe version or an exported version.
There was only ever one version of this.
Yeah, it was only ever one version, but
that was then the EP came out on vinyl or digital release. They never released it on a CD.
Yeah, but
which is annoying because I would have got it, but I wasn't willing to pay what they were charging for a.
No, I wasn't either. I've got to be honest, I wasn't either. But
I dare say this will be reissued eventually, or it might appear as bonus tracks on the next album.
It might do. But yes, You'll Be Sorry and Lethe River were written at the same time as the album. It was 13 songs that they wrote.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it's pretty obvious that it was on there.
And then what's it called? But yeah,
Session. Yeah.
That was it. Them sessions, that recording sessions. So no, I've got nothing more to say about that. Again, I thought it's it goes along nicely, and
Well, let's sum it up then. I think overall,
what about that? The track that was then. What do you think of that one?
Oh, I thought it was just remixes. Apart from that,
no. There is one new song, and that is the track that was then.
Oh, go on.
That was then, and this is now. I mean, it's quite a nice driving song. So again, some nice bluesy, very Gilmore-esque soloing on this one. It's got a slightly industrial sounding rhythm as well. But that's the only new song that they released, and that was last year. And then they did this, they put these songs that they didn't use on the album, plus the remix of Dog's Life and Dumb.
Yeah, I can live without remixes.
Yeah, really... exactly. But so I was just faders going up and down, and they've just slightly rearranged it and stuff like that. But that was then is quite good, quite a good song. And hopefully I would assume they'll put that on the next album, because it's definitely got some power to it, and it's not bad. And that, I mean, just the chorus, that was then and this is now. Not bad at all. Not a bad new number to present to us. So that's it. That's all I've got, and that's all the notes I've got on it. Anyway.
So overall, then, I mean, it's definitely a departure for Alex, but I think it's probably what he needed. The last thing he would want to do is an album that's going to be compared to Rush, or a band that's going to be compared to Rush, and trying, so to do something completely different was probably the best thing for him. So I think overall the experiment has worked. I think this is a good project. It's certainly got potential. I suppose it's going to come out in the wash, really. I think what really is going to happen with this really depends on the next album and how the project develops. But overall, as an album on its own, for me, it's a good. I wouldn't say experimental, but it's a good experiment.
I think you can only use I think you can only use the words of Alex himself. It is a very interesting project.
Yeah, it's a moody, dark, but kind of mellow, dreamy album. And if you're in the mood for that, you're in the mood for it.
Yeah,
I think it'd be a good album to listen to in the summer, if you're having a bit of a chill out session. Maybe sit by a pool. Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think, and they're already knocking ideas around for another album anyway.
Yeah, apparently there is another album in the works. Like I say, I'd like to see how this develops, and I'd like to see if it develops into a live band, and I'd like to see how those songs then are reinterpreted, and then how the project develops from then afterwards as well. The band are going to be playing live. They're certainly going to start writing live. So I don't know. It's all up in the air, really. It's the potential's there.
Well, yeah, definitely the potential's there. You got 4 very, very good musicians.
And Maya Wynn she's fantastic. She's a great talent, and I think her career is secured regardless. I think.
I think so. Yeah. I think she'll move on from this anyway. Being a lot younger than the 3 guys. I think she'll be pretty much in demand, I would have thought. And of course, we don't know. Obviously, this is the first album post Rush as we know it at the moment. There's still a lot of talk that Alex has turned around and said, obviously, Geddy and me are good friends. We've known each other pretty much all our lives. They do want to work together again, but it just depends in what sort of shape or form. And I think, again, it's just going to be a case of watch this space. It's not going to be Rush, or it may be Rush, but only as a studio.
Expressed he's got no desire to go touring.
Oh, no. It wouldn't be a tour
on his own there. So Geddy might do a solo tour, maybe another solo album where he can, he'll have 2 solo albums and then can throw some Rush songs in.
Well, to me, that would be the obvious thing to do if Geddy still wants to tour.
Yeah, but
Alex has said he doesn't.
But there's nothing stopping them writing together. So
they can still write and produce albums.
or they
if
could do
want to.
a low scale tour like with this book tour. But I think once the ball
Again, I
gets
think
rolling,
I think they're still. I think it's the travelling that
Yeah.
Alex is against. He just said,
time will tell. Is the short?
Yeah, we will see. We will see. So,
well, everyone, thanks very much for watching. This has been Envy of None. What do you think of this album? You know, what are your favourite tracks off it? And what do you think the potential for the project has? And yeah, let us know your thoughts. Thanks for watching. And yeah, we're coming to the end of this series now. So next week we're going to be doing the live albums of Rush. We're going to go from everything from All the World's a Stage up until R40 and talk about all the pros and cons and niches of each live album and pick a favorite between the two of us. And so I'm looking forward to that. I've been listening and watching and
it's going to be interesting.
Doing some marathon. There's some marathon sets in there as well. So I'm looking forward to watching doing that. So we'll see you next week for Rushcast and take care and we'll see you all soon.
Have a good week, folks. Cheerio.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.